But the other aspect which we must bring in is not just about sexual performance, it's also about sexuality and identity. And I think it's very important to understand that many people struggle with how they feel about who they're attracted to, why they're attracted to, and the mental challenges and the fear, depending on which culture you come from, which background you come from, what your peers say, what your family have said. You know, you can be in denial about who you are for a long, long time and create a complete false reality to the world of your reality. And in a way, it becomes a form of depersonalization, because, you know, everybody else needs to see that I am heterosexual, but actually I realize I'm bisexual, or actually I'm lesbian, or I'm gay, but I can't let the world know, so I'm going to create this false identity. And boy, does that screw some people up.
And what actually led you into this? I know you touched...
From a personal point of view, well, I mean, personal point of view, I suppose I was married for 17 years, I've got 5 kids. To all intents and purposes, from the age of, you know, from a youngster right the way through to 40, I was a typical heterosexual married man with 5 kids. And a lot of this is in hindsight now, because obviously I became my own case study, which was quite interesting, was that as towards the end of the marriage, the intimacy with the sex ended as well. Well, with the sex stopping, intimacy stopped. So for the last 5 years after the last child was born, 6 years, there was no physical contact between me and my wife. We had a lot going on, we were busy, but there was definitely a disconnection. But we were both unaware that it was there, because we weren't able to compare to other relationships per se. So for me, that happened to coincide with the internet coming on, and, you know, I was flicking through, looking at a bit of very early sketchy and blurred porn, and I went from a heterosexual porn site to a bisexual porn site to a gay porn site. And I thought, what's going on here? Where's this? And it really was. It felt like someone had thrown a medicine ball at me that said, you're now going to be gay. And I picked it up and went, what the fuck have I got here? And I couldn't understand, because this wasn't something that I was looking for. It just sort of permeated. And over the next 18 months, 2 years, I explored my sexuality in a clandestine way with a guy. I actually met a guy who was in a similar situation to me. And what I think was the first realization that something deeper was going on was that very first experience, which was just giving a guy a sensual massage that was naked, and he got aroused, and there was a bit of, you know, mutual hand touching and stuff like that, was actually how easy it was and how normal it felt. And I thought, this is really weird. Anyway, the marriage ended as a result of that. And then I began to look at it, and my wife and I had the first conversation after 17 years of marriage about sex. And she said to me, why is it you prefer sex with guys? Because at that point I thought, oh, I've definitely become gay. That's it, I'm over there now, I'm not going to women. Bearing in mind I grew up with 3 much older sisters as well, so this is quite relevant in the sense of how my brain was. So I said to her, well, it just feels, you know, relaxed. I feel normal. I don't feel any pressure. And I said, with you, it was always as if you wanted everything fast and rushed, and there was nothing coming back for me. And she said, but all I ever wanted you to do was pick me up, throw me on the bed and take me. Now, because I have much older sisters, doing something like that was a complete no-no to me. I was terrified of disapproval from older females. And so I was projecting that on my wife. And so I was the most passive lover. And my way of attempting to have any sort of interaction was to sort of nudge her in bed. And if I didn't get a response, I wouldn't do anything. But because I didn't have any brothers, and I also had a disconnected relationship with my father emotionally, when I came with a guy, there was no programming there, so it felt very normal. And that's a pattern I've seen over and over and over again. Almost 99% of the men that I see who are questioning their sexuality have had an emotional disconnection with a father figure in childhood, or a masculine figure in childhood, and often an over-connected relationship with the mother figure. But biologically, they may actually be very heterosexual, but yet they've got this, what I call Homo emotionality. And that also is the same for women. If there's a disconnected relationship with mothers, there's often a desire to have that female contact. And the way I see it is, it's one of those childhood developmental stages of early growth, when if it's not dealt with, if it's not facilitated, it's not provided, the brain still yearns for that. So I went through 5 years of being, in effect, a gay man, but then I swung back and found myself actually, once I'd filled that little empty bucket of lack of male contact, and now I sort of float somewhere up and down the middle. I actually regard myself as heterosexual but homo emotional.